Chris said you first to make sure he gets the last word. Look, so tēnā koutou katoa, thank you very much. That was quite a session, thank you very much. Lots to think about and certainly lots to challenge us on. Sort of thinking about the day, I sort of came away with sort of 6 things that I wanted to say. The first was around the trade recovery and the importance that that will have for all of us, I think, making that work and making sure that trade can be a driver of the sort of the employment and the incomes that we certainly do want, and the 3 R's that I talked about, and the bits and pieces that have come out here in substance, I think do demonstrate how important this process is going to be. I did think that last session was particularly powerful around the IndigiX, because it reminded me also that one of the things that we say in the trade recovery is the international connectivity piece. So it is really important what you're doing. We can discuss those proposals, and I'm certainly open to them. You correctly identified the Inclusive Trade Action Group work that we are doing with Canada and Chile, and I think there is scope in there to think about what that looks like without actually raising if I can be honest about it, about the expectations there, and that what we need to be thinking of. But I do think that was a very important element of that, and I do think that in general it does feed into that point we're trying to do around international connections. I think the importance of Asia to us, the Asia-Pacific region, both commercially in terms of the relationship, his worship is back, I think that is a really good way to think about what our recovery is going to need to look like and how we think about that, as well as needing to level the playing field in some of those older markets that we've more traditionally looked to, where we are currently at a disadvantage. I mean, let me put it bluntly, we have a free trade agreement with China, we don't have a free trade agreement with the UK and the EU, and yet somehow we have this vision that those are the older relationships, and I do find there's a certain irony to all of that. APEC, that is a massive opportunity for us as a country, but also in the Indigenous space. So I thought, Tariana, you really did a good job explaining what is there. Yes, I am chairing the senior officials meeting, and the thought of 300 plus meetings is a bit daunting next year. But there is a real opportunity there, but I also didn't want to lie to you. We do not have agreement amongst the 21 economies for an Indigenous agenda. We do have good support from Canada. We do have good support from Chile, but we do not have that support across the 21. What we need to be thinking about for our host year is this is an investment, not just for next year, but for the next 20. And you guys do think long term. That's what we're going to be doing. So in APEC 2021, we are going to do something in the Indigenous space, absolutely. But it may not be with all 21 economies. But what we're looking to do is that in 5, 10, 15 years, this will be a normal part of the agenda. No one will be able to say no. But it is, I don't want to lie to you, that is going to take us time. And it will take a lot of energy on our part, and I do mean everyone in this room, to support that and to continue to back that process in APEC. I did also want to mention Trade for All. So the government set up the Trade for All Advisory Board, which met over, I think, 2 years to prepare a very detailed report that the government received in November. That was about building confidence in New Zealanders in what the trade policy agenda looks like. Later this week, the Minister is going to be responding to that report. Formally, he's meeting with the Trade for All Advisory Board membership, and he's going to be making some announcements about many of the recommendations in there. And many of the recommendations that I heard today, including some of the ideas that came out in that last session, are many of the things that the Trade for All Advisory Board has recommended that I know the Minister is genuinely interested in. By that I mean Minister Parker, as well as, of course, Minister Mahuta. So please do watch out for that. That is a really important part of our relationship, all of us, about building confidence that what we do internationally actually reflects our shared interests and our values as we look out into the world. And that Trade for All report, I think, will give us, I hope it will give you confidence that what we are trying to do, and we are not doing it perfectly by any means, and I don't want to pretend otherwise. I know I'm taking up a lot of your time, Chris. That means you can only reply very shortly, in brief. But I know we are trying. We are trying to do this better, and we have been on quite a journey over the last 3.5 years. And the taumata is one group that we're working with, but we are looking to expand this and to listen more actively and better. But we have a long way to go, and I know that. And I'm responsible for that, so I know that we've got to do this, and we've got to do it properly. So let me stop by saying, last of all, thank you to you, Chris. Thank you to the taumata. This has been a great session. I expect many, many more like it. But I did want to really acknowledge your leadership on this and the support that you've given for trying to take this forward. To your team that helped make it happen here, really nice to see you as always, and the others that I did manage to see today. Also to my team and my colleagues who also contributed here, Martin, Nawani, Serafina, Alistair is there as well, and then my team from the trade negotiating team that are here that I hope you will get a chance to talk to about the various issues, and they are all here, Claire, Caroline, Michelle, who am I missing? Chrissy's here somewhere. So there's a whole lot of us floating around. Grab us, we look like officials. And don't hesitate to tell us what you think. We are wanting to listen, we are wanting to learn, and we are actually serious about it. Finally, I talked about 3 R's, the retooling exporter support, refreshing the architecture, reinvigorating the international connectivity, building strategic resilience. But in the end, and that's my last word, it really was about what you said earlier. It's about relationships. And I hope it's relationships internationally, but it's also relationships here with you. Thank you.
Kia ora, Vangelis. That's the fellow that's actually doing all of the negotiating for us and all those trade agreements. So you fellas, no, I was going to say be encouraged, because I know he's got a steely backbone. Can I have the next slide, please, to help me sum up? My summing up is going to be very short. Kia tātou, ne? Ke te mohi o mātou ko wai tēnei, ne? Ko Uncle Api. Nōku te whenua kei au te kōrero, nōku te whenua ko au te rangatira. We've heard that message coming through today. E hara mo e tahi atu hei kōrero atu mō tātou. Mō mātou e kōrero mō mātou. Ne. Koina ngā kōrero o tēnā o tātou nei pāpā, au Uncle Api. And that was really, that's what these hui have all been about. It's been about bringing the ministers, it's about bringing the trade experts, it's about bringing Vangelis and all of his team out to the people to listen to you, to listen to us, so that Vangelis is equipped with the things that he needs to know when he goes into bat for us. He needs to know what's drop-dead non-negotiable. He needs to know there'll be a basket of things that, kei te pai, we'll all agree on those sorts of things over there. But then there'll be a bunch of things in the middle that we probably want to be having a talk to Vangelis about as he goes into those negotiations. Because the message we got when we last came here, Maori didn't have a voice into those trade negotiations. Maori didn't have a voice. And so what I hope that you take out of today is really, you now know what an FTA is. You now know what tariffs are. You now know that if those things are not, if you like, adjusted in some way, they will have a material impact, probably positively or negatively, on you, on us. And we heard this last theme coming through over and over today from people like Manu and Whai and others about it was about growing our people and growing jobs for our whānau. It came through in many, many different ways. So those are my last words, and just to leave with those words from Uncle Api to remind us that always stand up and have a voice on these issues. So with that, I'm going to move to closure now, but there's one last thing we would like to do. Kai a koe, Martin.
Alistair. Tina. Now, while I was sitting over here having a bit of a yarn with our co-master Whaiwe here,